Все готово, починаємо?
Так.
Так, ну я так розумію, що починаємо. Добре, колеги, доброго дня.
All
Вже
right, dear
вечора,
colleagues,
напевно,
good
дуже
day
раді вас
or
всіх
evening.
бачити.
Right now
У
we are
нас
happy to
сьогодні
see
такий
you.
класний гость, якого ми дуже
Today
чекали.
we
Це
have a
і
great
заявка
guest we have
антилізівців,
been
знаєте,
waiting
ви
for,
просили, і ми
and
дуже раді,
upon
що
your
він до нас
requests,
прийшов. Це
and we are very
військовий
happy to see
психолог,
him.
офіцер
This is a
ізраїльської
military
армії,
psychologist, an
і він
officer of
розповість
Israeli
про
army.
систему психологічного
He will talk
супроводу і
about the system
підтримки
of
військовослужбовців
psychological
під
follow-up
час
and
активних
support
бойових дій.
of the military
І
staff members
стосовно
during the
слайдів,
active combat.
Моті їх підготував
As
ось
for the
зараз, то ми
presentation
будемо
and
зараз їх
slides,
бачити англійську
Moti
версію, вони
has
ще не перекладені,
prepared
але
them.
ми
They have not
поширимо
yet been
переклад
translated
разом з
in
записом
writing.
сьогоднішнього заходу
But
в
together with
розсилці.
the
Після
recording
нього,
of
це
today's meeting,
буквально
we
декілька
will
днів,
send
ось
you
чи на
the
днів.
translated
Моті, the
presentation
floor is yours.
later
Thank you so much for
in
coming.
a few days.
Please, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. Maybe one of the key aspects of what I'm going to talk about is that our psychological help is very personal. Okay, we have a small army and a small country, and the connection and the relationship are very personal. So if I could ask you maybe to close for now the presentation, and if the participants can, if you, I'm inviting you to open your cameras so I can see you and meet you and react to your to your friendly faces. It would be easier for me, and I would be better focused on the issue. And then we'll send you the presentation. If there are some key points, I will bring it up. Or maybe I'm inviting Oksana to bring it up if you see that I'm losing it. Okay. So my name is Moti Pickelner. I'm a Russian-born Jew. I live in Israel for the last 30 years. You got the worst of my three languages. Yeah, the better one is Hebrew. The less good one is Russian, and English is the worst. So I'll try to find the correct words to describe my message. And I will be glad if you fix me, okay, or help me. So I have to, being born in Russia, I'm obliged to explain myself. Okay, so I come to Ukraine since the year 2011, and then since 2014, much more. I've been in Ukraine about 50 times. I'm totally on your side. I hope for that you stand along and resolve this unfair conflict that was brought to your land. So I'm here to make my devotion, to show my devotion to you and to your brave citizens and soldiers, and I hope that it will be helpful and useful and practical. And if you have any questions, please cut me in the middle. It's the Israeli way. We enter to each other's words and argue. It's something that I like a lot. So please argue with me and disagree and ask me questions. It would be great. I'll start by saying that I wrote here that I'm a clinical social worker, and my rank is major. I'm in the reserve of the IDF, of the Israel Defense Force, for the last 23 years. I did my regular army service for 3 years, since 2000 to 2003, and since 2003 I'm being in the reserve service. And after I finished my my study in the university, studying clinical social work, I got back to an army being a mental health officer. I'm not a psychologist, not a military psychologist, but in army we have psychologists and social workers who do the same work but called differently. So there it goes. I'm considering what do I start with, and I think I was asked by Andriy and by Oksana to describe psychological support and therapeutic work with IDF soldiers and veterans in Israel. There are many differences. I'm describing what we have in Israel. Hopefully, it can help. Actually, what we have is all the Israeli citizens are obliged to serve in the army. Some parts of our society are not obliged to serve in the army, but still some of them do. For instance, Muslim citizens of Israel are not obliged to serve in the army, but a little percent of them do serve in the army. Some Orthodox Jews are not obliged to serve in the army because they study Torah, like professional sportsmen, which are not obliged to serve because they do their service, they do their civilian service, and all of the citizens that do not do military service are obliged to do civil service, like helping in hospitals, in foster homes, working with working with sheltered animals and things like that. It's very wide, but we are going to focus on the army service. So everybody serves about 3 years. Women serve 2 years, and men serve 3 years. And when we say you are going to be drafted, you are not going to be drafted for 2 or 3 years. You are going to be drafted for about 15 to 20 years, including the reserve service. Because all the time we have, since the state of Israel came up, we had military conflicts, and it was very it was very needed. All the soldiers are very needed, so we need them also in reserve service. The work that mental health officers do in the army is divided to some parts. One of them is before the service. We deal with diagnosing and interviewing and affecting in many ways on the process of the draft of recruiting the soldiers, recruiting the youth to being soldiers. They're going through a lot of exams and interviews, and we pay a lot of attention and a lot of resources to send them to those units that they are mentally capable to succeed in that service. And we understand that some people cannot be combat soldiers, and from those who are combat soldiers, some of them can be, like soldiers that are, I'm sorry, I'm starting to struggle with English. Some of them are attacking soldiers, okay, special missions, special forces soldiers who are being specializing in breaching and in missions that are being initiated, okay? And some of people are more are better or are more suitable for the missions that are needed, to defense lines. And when we understand that, it's better. It affected in a much more effective way the percentage of the soldiers that are being efficient in the army and are being how do you say that? And gain from the service better. Okay, they finish the service more satisfied. That's the word that I was looking for. They're being more satisfied, and because they're being on their place, they're being located better and more suitable for their mental health. Of course, that's some of the soldiers, between 70 to 80%, are not combat soldiers, and we pay a lot of attention to the logistics units that are crucial to bringing to combat warriors the ammunition, the water, the food, the petrol, and the way they evacuate them from the battlefield. We understand that it affects in a great way on the motivation of the soldiers. When the soldier is in a battlefield and he understands that the logistics that the supply chain is working in an efficient way, it helps them a lot build their stamina, and their grit, and affects better their possibilities. So after we draft them, during the first courses, how do you call it? The first courses, it's called the quarantine in the Soviet Army. And I'm seeing some questions. Do you want me to answer them? Please ask them.
Так, можна прочитати, правда.
Yes,
Що
we can read it.
відбувається, коли молода людина
What is happening
відмовляється
when a
йти на
young
війну
person
чи на службу в
refuses to
армію в
go
силу свого
to the
бажання
war
робити
or to
щось
serve in the
інше,
army
якщо людина
because
не
they would
хоче
like to do
вбивати?
something
Чи у вас
else?
такого не
What if a
буває?
person doesn't want to kill others? Do you have such situations?
We have a criteria which is pacifism. Okay, when a person comes at their 16 and a half year old to a recruiting office, and he declares that he's a pacifist, he can be freed from the service. But it's really it really is. It's not a simple process, okay, but it does happen in small percents. Many people claim to be pacifists, but later they are found not to be like this. Ideology can be a reason not to be drafted. But the thing is that because everybody is drafted, it's a normal situation, and it creates a lot of motivation amongst Israeli adolescents to be drafted. So we are not talking about high percentage of the people that are pacifists or pretend to be pacifists. When we are talking about combat soldiers, okay, when combat soldiers don't want to enter the combat zone because they feel that they are not capable of fighting, or don't want to be in a situation that they are standing, before the risk of death, or don't want to shoot others or to kill other people. We run them through the diagnostic process, when we interview them and speak to them and try to understand. We speak to them and we speak to their families and we speak to their commanders and to their friends. we try to activate them and to convince them because we need the soldiers. But if a person, naturally, after all of this, if a person is not capable of entering to the of entering combat, we can offices of mental health can free him from it. I saw continue to this question, right? Yes.
Ну, власне, ви тільки що відповіли, чим
Yes,
ви
you
мотивуєте
have
молодь, що лежить в
answered
основі
this.
вашої
How do
мотивації?
you motivate young people? What is in the foundation of your motivation?
We suggest them to find three levels of motivation. One is ideological, social, because that we have to defend our country and we have an enemy that is that is saying out loud that we are to be destroyed, and killed if we don't defend our country and or save the hostages or to make our people who live in the northern and southern border to go back to their settlements and live there peacefully. Or maybe different people find different reasons to go into a battle, but that's like I call it the highest one. It's not the highest, but it's the most social one. And the second one is low social. Okay, is like amongst your friends. When you oblige to your friends, to your commander, when you went through some process with them, not some process, when you went through a journey with them, during your training and during your service, and we suggest the soldiers to find the attachment and the belonging to this fighting unit. And the third one is to find your own selfish motivation to do it, whether it is to prove yourself something, or whether it is to gain respect, or whether it is to overcome your fears. That's the three circles that we are working to motivate the people. Okay.
Питання, чим, на ваш погляд,
Another
відрізняється
question.
війна в
In your
Україні та
opinion,
війна
what is the
в
difference
Ізраїлі?
between the
Як в
war in
позитивному
Ukraine
аспекті,
and
так і в
in
негативному?
Israel,
Дякую.
both in the positive and negative aspect? Thank you.
I don't think that I understand the war in Ukraine. Okay, I didn't see. I didn't see Syrian. I didn't see Syrian planes in our sky, and we didn't see thousands killed in days, or in weeks. Here, it's a much smaller scale. I'm talking about recent war, right? I'm not talking about all the wars. There were some wars here that were wars of survival, but now it's a war that needs to protect. Hamas cannot crush IDF, but it does crush. It crushes the Hezbollah and Hamas, our enemies. They crash. They penetrate to our southern and northern borders, and they threaten the very existence, and hurt the people there. I won't go into it. And I think that I can't understand really how Ukraine deals with such a great devastation. demolition, with a lot of damage, and Israel is mostly not on the October 7th, yes, but fighting on a land that is not that is not held by Israel, okay? It's a disputed land, and we go there and we try to fight there, and we are fighting a terror organization that it is which lies within the civilian groups. I think that most of the front, maybe not all of it, I don't know, maybe in Donetsk and Lugansk, the battles are going inside civilian objects, but I really don't know that much about the Ukrainian and Russian war. I'm trying to catch up, but I don't know so well. But the most important difference that I see as a professional, as a mental health officer, is that in Ukraine not everybody has to be drafted. And I think that it's a huge difference between Israel and Ukraine, because when only one parts of social economical status are being drafted, then it has it influence on the motivation and of the citizens and on the warriors. And I think it affects the way that people fight when they're motivated by being drafted by force, or when they're motivated by, coming from all over the world, and all over the places to participate in defending Israel. I think it's an important issue. If I would suggest, no, it's not from my place to suggest. You understand what I mean? Are there any more questions in the chat, or do we continue? No, okay. Okay, I'll get to it. Okay, Alexander? I see the question. I actually understand the Ukrainian. I just can't speak it. Yeah, I can read it and I can understand it, but I can't speak it. Sorry for that. I think I'll get to that also, to the next question also. Okay, I'll get to the skeleton, which I was intended to go through, and I think you'll see it. You'll get your answer. Okay. So what? Okay. What's the question from Alexander Sullivan?
Так, я можу прочитати, правда.
Yeah.
Тут ще є до Олександра,
Yeah,
давайте я
let
його ще...
me
у нас 3
read
питання
it.
тут ще
We have
з'явилось.
3
Моті.
questions,
Тоді
right?
починаємо перше.
Moti,
Які є
we start with the
методики
first one then, yes?
подолання бойового стресу?
Yes, please.
What
Окей.
are the
Які є методики для
methods
подолання
of
бойового стресу під
overcoming
час
combat
бойових дій,
stress during the
яким я,
combat
як
actions?
військовий
That's what
спеціаліст,
I answered the first two questions that I'll get to them later. And the third question was regarding what I answered earlier, and I won't get it, so I want to answer it now, please.
Окей.
Could you read it to me in English, please, Yana?
Колеги
You said
українською в чаті дивитесь, та? А Моті зараз
you said
почують
that
перекладачі наших
people who
англійською.
serve in the social
Якщо
sphere do
незручно
not
в чаті
go
читати,
to
давайте
the
тоді
army.
прочитаємо.
How many hours per week or day does this service take?
Будь ласка,
Also,
прочитайте.
the
Так, тоді читаю.
service
У нас 2 питання. Як відбувається
24/7,
відновлення військового після
or is there
повернення з
any
позиції?
other
І
regime?
ще питання від Олександра.
No.
Ви сказали, що...
Actually, I'm getting to it. What's special, Oksana?
I will read it to the audience because not everyone
Sure.
can see the chat, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Ви сказали, що люди служать в соціальній сфері, якщо не йдуть у військо. Скільки годин на тиждень, на день ця служба відбувається? Також військова служба 24/7 чи якийсь інший режим? І Яно, там ще одне питання з'явилось. Як мотивувати бійців, які воюють проти
One
ворога,
other
що зовсім не
question: how to
дотримується правил
motivate
війни,
people
вбиває і
who
катує
fight
полонених?
against the enemy, who do not stick to any rules of war, they kill and they torture the prisoners of war?
I'll answer the first question. I'm not a specialist in the civil service. I don't know a lot about it. It runs for 2 years, and it depends on the why people have been released from the army, because some of them might be handicapped, okay, and some of them have mental health issues, or some of them may be pacifists, and pacifists are invited to serve in the civil service. So it's for 2 years, and it's an everyday work. Like normally it's 8 day hours work, but it can be less. It depends on the capability of the servant. Okay. So the second question was maybe if I'll get it to myself, yeah, it'll be fast.
The second question was about motivation, how to fight against the enemy who doesn't stick to any rules of war and killing and torturing prisoners of war.
It's hard, but we remember who we are, and we do a lot of work with young 18 and 19. A good way not to get to combat unit is when you are drafted to declare that you are a violent man, okay, or you have violent initiatives, because we don't want these guys in the combat unit. We want good students that had a lot of they had experience in success and not in failure, that are good in dealing with exams and good with studying, and they are morally better morally fit and better disciplined than the violent boys. Okay, so it is important to us to get people who don't seek revenge and who don't seek like you said, the soldiers are being really soldiers who tend to do that or intend to do that are being kicked out of combat units, and it's not normal to do it. The officers and the mental health officers do a tremendous work in preventing such things. We don't want to be, so out of understanding, we don't want to do it to other people, and we know what are the consequences of the people that do it to the enemy, and how do they get to civil life, and how they continue their civil life after they were cruel to their enemies. They would be cruel to their children, and they would be cruel to their wives, and they would be cruel to other members of the society.
I'm sorry, I think the question was different. How to motivate the
Я
people
думаю,
who
що
fight
там не
against
зовсім
the
вірний був
enemy?
переклад для Моті.
How to motivate the people to fight against the enemy who the enemy doesn't stick to any rules of war and torture the prisoners of war. It's not about your people, it's about the enemy who is torturing. Enemy is torturing. How you motivate the people to fight against this type of enemy who is torturing?
Yeah, I understood the question. We cannot control what the enemy is doing. We are not doing the same, and we are fighting them because it makes us overcome moral injury when they do it. It gives us more motivation to fight, and to defend ourselves, to fight actively, and to prevent these horrors. Am I not being clear?
I think you're being clear. I'm not sure that
Mhm.
you know that there is an answer to that other than what you're describing, the difference between societies and their values and what you're trying to protect.
Yes, I wouldn't want to use this platform to say bad things about our enemies. It is important to me personally and to many of my colleagues and to my fighting comrades not to be on the hating side. We are fighting to regain our rights and our security and not to destroy the enemy. If we need to destroy the enemy for it, we'll do it, but we don't do it because of the hatred to the enemy. Andriy, please, you wanted to ask something.
Ні, я просто якраз про уточнення.
No, I was just
Дякую.
trying to clarify the question because it seemed to me it wasn't clear.
No. I think that I answered it in a way that it was clear to me that we can do such things, yes, and it's clear to me that we can't prevent them from acting like this. So let them act like this. They're hurting themselves by it, and we choose not to do it. Listen. I'll be honest with you. When we got 18-year-olds, 18 and 19-year-olds coming to army, after that we checked that they are not violent. And when 7th of October happened and people was kidnapped, and raped and everything, it was a challenge to help them switch from the point of view of hatred and revenge to a point of doing the missions, and we did a tremendous work on the subject. And it's important for Ukraine too. I've met colleagues in Ukraine, and fighters in Ukraine who agree with me, and field commanders that understand and that are not. It was exactly the same. I talked to colonels and in Ukraine, and they told me the same, that while fighting the enemy, they are motivating their soldiers not to act like their enemies. I was really glad to hear that. Okay, I'm moving forward. Okay, last thing about the Israeli context, the thing that we deal with, and it's starting to be in Ukraine, as I hear from my friends from Ukraine, is that soldiers are being under psychological pressure while maintaining civilian connections. Okay, our homes are really close to the battlefield. So we tend to let the soldiers go to their homes as much as we can. The more they get to their homes, the more support they will get, the more connected they will be to their families and to the civil life. It will make them easier to go back. Because if they are disconnected and the commanders are afraid to release the soldiers, because they're afraid that they won't come back, or they will be close to their families. We believe the opposite, but it is still a challenge. Okay, it is still kind of hard because it makes a lot of social interactions, unpleasant social interactions between the soldiers, because they are some of them are anxious to get home as much as they can, but I believe that eventually it is better that they get home as much as they can for the long run. Maybe for the short run it's challenging, but for the long run it's much better for them, because they are being close. You know, they remember who they are fighting for whose for who is for who's best they're doing it. But sometimes wives and mothers and fathers and brothers of the soldiers are trying to convince them and to pursue them, not to persuade them not to get back to war, and mostly with reserve soldiers, because like I'm 44, I don't have to be at war. And I have 3 daughters. One of them is with special needs. And when 7th of October started, I took my bag and I went to the army. But after a few months, when I got the time and the space to think it over, I thought that next time it happens, I need to remember that my daughter needs me more than my friends in the army, and it's not a simple dilemma for me. Will be next time. This time it was resolved quickly, but next time I'll consider it. And now, 1 year and a half after I was drafted, and still I'm coming home and everything once a week, once in 2 weeks, once in a few days. I still have this conflict with my wife and with my family. It's not an open conflict, right? We're not fighting and arguing, but it is a conflict that they're okay with me being in the battlefield, but they are actually are anxious, and they feel a lot of worry, and it affects me a lot because I see them a lot. But it also allowed me to get back. I'm still not back mentally, but I try to, and my presence in home makes it better. Another things, okay, another like profile of the soldiers and the reserve service. Okay, so compulsory soldiers are aged 18 to 21, okay, and the reserve service are aged 21 to 40. Yeah, excluding myself. I'm 44, so I'm my profession is needed in the army, so I'm volunteering, but it's allowed. You can volunteer till as much as you can do your job. So what we have is rapid transitions from battlefield to home. And the thing that helps us most is we build a strong unit identity and peer connection. I know that there are some units in the Ukrainian army that are building unit identity, and like some battalions, you know who I'm talking about, like Azov and such, yes, which are also in Israel. There is this unit that is called Golani. So this week I've been with the Golani soldiers, and the soldiers are allowed to argue with their commander, okay? So they told him after one of them was hurt, I will not tell more about it, they said, we're not sure we are ready to get back, because it was frightening, and we didn't understand the mission, and we don't believe in the threat, and stuff like that. And the commander said, first, you're a soldier, and that obliges you. Secondary, you're a combat soldier, and that obliges you too. And thirdly, you are a Golani soldier, and therefore you can go back. So it's 3 more words that motivate them, and eventually they all got back to the field. Maybe here is the place and the time to say that when some unit gets hit, okay, gets casualties, we are working against time to get them back to the battlefield. We're not taking them off the bicycle, okay, and telling them go by foot now. We're getting them back in action as soon as we can. And we're not withdrawing them, even if they lost some, for instance, in armored divisions, okay, there are 4 guys, in the tank. And if one of them is hurt, we're not pulling the 3 others back to the civil society, okay, but back out of the combat field. We are leaving them for another few days to adapt, and not to go through many changes and changing the environment from a hostile environment to civil environment. We're dealing with different. The other before that, I talked about the role of the mental health officer before the service. Now I already dived into our role during the service, and now I will say that psychological wounds of war, there is PTSD, okay, which is not detected fast. Okay, first we have ASR, then ASD, then PTSD. You know all of this. We are dealing with a lot of grief, okay, because the units are very united and very close to each other, and it's built on personal connections. The grief is a blow, really. It's very bad. And we deal a lot with moral injury when people think that what they are doing is immoral things that do not suit them. Okay, some people think that I'm a good person. I can't believe they're being in Gaza right now, and they're seeing a lot of destruction, and it's hard to be for a few weeks and through a few or some months in a city which is burned, which is hurt, and it's not human to be there and to feel nothing, it's and a lot of people feel that feel that it's not good for them. So we have moral injury when somebody feels that he does something immoral, or when we see somebody else does something immoral, the enemy or our parents, or when the soldiers feel that they are being neglected or misused or hurt on purpose or sent to missions that they don't understand their meaning. And of course, survivor's guilt. Okay, so these are the four the 4 dragon heads that we're dealing with mostly. And what emphasizes it, okay, what makes it bigger is a short exposure, to massive combat missions, which builds high emotional impact, and the switching, between the combat and the civil society is really bad. And we have the emotional burden due to family proximity. When our families are being shot at, it motivates you, but you are still worried about them all the time, and you're still connected to them all the time. So it's hard to deal with. Somebody asked a question. Do we want to answer it?
Так, у нас декілька питань. Давайте, правда, трішки
Yes, we have several questions.
паузу, та і по одному
Let us
будемо.
make a small
Від Олега питання.
pause
Де і як
from
проходить
Oleh.
психологічна
Where
реабілітація
and how
ваших
do you do
військових?
mental
Скільки
health
часу?
rehabilitation for your military staff members, and how long does rehabilitation last?
Okay. Actually, we built a chain. Okay, we build a chain from the battlefield to the to civil hospitals, okay, there are mental health officers like myself who can enter the battlefield and who can come to a burning tank, you know, or to soldiers that are being now inside Gaza or inside Lebanon, and they are being mentally hurt, and we can make the intervention there. And I'm working with my own brigade. I'm with them all the time and everywhere, and they know their mental health officer, and they can and that builds a lot of trust. I've been a mental health officer there for 15 years, so it builds a lot of trust, and it builds good connections with commanders. They trust me. You know, the commander of the brigade is a younger guy than me. Okay, so the commanders of the battalions and the commanders of the platoons are much more younger than me, and it built me and it helped me to build a reputation where I can be really effective, and I can get access to the soldiers in the battlefield, and then help them in an effective way. And if I can deal with it, if I don't have some tools, you know, like EMDR techniques, you know, a psychiatrist or medicine, or I want to withdraw the soldier from the battlefield to a place where he doesn't hear explosions and he is not being shot at, I'm taking him out of the battlefield and passing him back. But we have 4 or 5 different stations where he can be still close to the battlefield. He can hear the explosions, but he is not being shot at. And if it's not enough, then we're moving him to some ambulatory clinic where he has, you know, psychiatrist, and he can get some medications, and he goes through biofeedback and EMD and different EMDR techniques, and if he is getting better, he goes back closer to the combat zone. Okay, and if he gets worse, he moves back on this chain, therapeutic chain of this chain of therapeutic centers which help them, and this few you know the I'm not finding the right words, but it really is good that it's not whether you are in combat or you are at your at hospital or at your home. If you have another 1 or 2 you know, places in barracks that are being more and more that have more and more tools to help them, then it's very effective. I'm struggling here. I'm sorry with my English.
It's good.
So,
Тут далі буде коментар і питання. Я прочитаю
A
все.
comment and a
У нас
question.
навпаки це питання.
Our situation
Вибачаюсь,
is different.
Наталія.
This is question
Наталія
from
написала.
Natalia.
У нас навпаки, чим
Our
менше
situation is
солдат
different.
вдома, тим краще, бо може
The
закінчитись
A
СЗЧ.
shorter time
І багато військових
soldiers
майже
spends
не
at
були у
home, the better,
відпустці,
because they
лише
can
у
go
разі
AWOL.
поранення.
A lot of
Навіть після
military staff
поранення
members have
військового
not been on leave,
намагаються,
only in
напевно,
case of
як можна
injury.
швидше повернути
Even
в
if
частину,
the
без відпочинку
soldier is
вдома.
wounded, they are trying to
Питання
get him
тоді,
back to the
як їм
unit as soon as
відновлюватись, що
possible
їм може
without having a
допомогти.
rest at home. So the question is how they can get, how can they recover their strength? What can help them?
I think what you are saying is not a question of what to do, because you are doing the same. It's a question of how you do it. It is a question of quality of the help. Because if the family is being supported and supportive, you know, in the, and they can be supportive only if they are being supported. Am I being understood? and if the family is serving as a as something constructing, you know, and not in a destructive way, then it would help. I think that we spend a lot of resources, the community and the army, in supporting the family of combatants. We give them a lot of tools, and we teach them a lot about how to be supportive, how not to be intrusive, how not to be avoidant with the soldiers, how to give them their rest, you know, how to weaken their anxiety, you know, and be less rejectant to go back. I think it's a subject for another, you know, a lecture or a course, you know, how to do it, and maybe we'll do it sometime.
Так. Від Наталії ще питання. Чи бувають у вас самогубства в армії?
A question from Natalia. Do you have suicides in the army? What do you do for prevention and early identification?
It's a yes or no question. So yes, we do a lot of suicides, and it's hard. We found it hard to teach the soldiers to report themselves having suicidal thoughts. And when they're attending lessons that are prophylactic lessons that are regarding suicidal, you know, preventivity, they are not good listeners at those lessons. But what we found to be better is we teach them how to identify suicidal thoughts, sayings, and deeds in their friends. So after we made the change, they are participating in a more active way in such lessons, and they are being more empathic, and they are being more informated of their friends, and they know how to speak, you know, about the subject with their friends, because nobody wants to help himself, but everybody wants to help their friends. So it worked pretty well. Besides that, there were some programs in the IDF that one of them was putting them, you know, in battle pairs, like combat buddies, okay? And when we have combat buddies which do a lot of missions together, and go home together, you know, and live close to each other and know each other's families, they're being more they're giving more attention to these signs. So it lowered the suicidal level, but naturally, the more intensive warfare there is in Israel, the more suicides we see in the army, and the veterans committing suicide.
Так. Питання від Анни. Як саме
A
можна
question from
працювати з
Anna.
бійцями, які
How
не
can we
розуміють
work with the
цілей та
fighters
прихильності їх
who do not
завдання від
understand the
командування?
tasks and relevance of their missions set by the command?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a problem that we also have. There is a big problem that the soldiers do not believe in the mission that they have, because there is a conflict. Every commander stands before the conflict to fulfill the mission, or to get his soldiers back home intact, you know, in one piece. And It's it's a problem. It's a dilemma that cannot be resolved because you always you'll always be a bad commander if you don't do the mission or if you get anyone hurt. So there are a lot of arguments between the commanders themselves, one commanders to other commanders, and the soldiers to the commandants, that are asking is how what we do is crucial, how it helps the war, how and we try to remind them that sadly, soldier doesn't get to decide which mission does he choose, and doesn't get to decide which commander does he have. I'll tell you something. You know, there was one commander that I heard that said to him. He said it's a bit of cliche. Okay, he said a boy is becoming a man when he understands that nobody is coming to rescue him. And when we are going into a battle, it's only us. We can only help each other, and we can only save each other, and we can only look for each other. I promise you that I do everything to pick the missions that we are getting and to arrange them in the way that you won't be hurt. But eventually, when I get an order, I'm fulfilling the orders even if I don't agree with them, because I presume that maybe I don't see the bigger picture. And sometimes I lead you into a fight or into a mission where I know that when I know that it is that it is dangerous for you, and you might get hurt. So I'm in the same position. That's what I think, and that's what I know.
Подякували за чесність і відвертість.
Yes, the comment is thank you for your honesty
Це
and
наразі
being
всі
frank.
питання, тому тоді можемо
Okay.
далі
These
працювати з тим
are all the
матеріалом, що ти
questions that
підготував,
we
і
received.
потім,
We
можливо,
can
також
go on
зробимо
with your
паузу для
materials,
ще подальших
and then we
питань.
can make a small pause for other questions.
Great. So the 3 points of the IDF mental health support system, I'm summarizing, okay, is the embedded mental health officer, which are serving inside the battling units. Okay, it's an important thing. And the second one is ongoing care across service stages. Okay, we do it all the time. We do it before the army, during the army, and after the army. We even work with citizens and veterans. You know, we're running programs that are helping them deal with their combat reactions. And there are a lot of specialized trauma units and hotlines. Okay, so we advertise, okay, these trauma units and hotlines, and I have to be, you know, sometimes I'm at home now, but if there is a soldier now that is hurt, you know, that is suffering from reactions to combat units now in the south, then I'll drive there for it's like 4 hours. And then I'll go there, and I want to be the first who sees him, you know, and talks to him, and decides whether he goes to hospital, or whether he sees a psychiatrist, or whether me and him sit on a hill, you know, light a cigarette, and speak to each other. And I will decide if he is going back to combat field, or if he needs some days, a few days to get refreshed, or if he needs to be hospitalized, instituted. The methods that we use, you know, the therapeutic methods are EMDR. Naturally, you know what EMDR is. Mostly CBT methods. We don't use dynamic work, you know, in therapy. It's prolonged exposure, Edna Pua's technique. somatic tools. We use biofeedback. One of the latest EMDR innovations in the IDF is doing it by walking and by running together, therapists together with the soldier. It's fascinating. It's very good. I learned it and I'm doing it. It really makes change. We are emphasizing on moral repair. Okay, we know that the soldiers will get moral injury, and we are working a lot on normalizing their feelings, and we allow them talking about politics, and talking about ideology, and we're helping them to get their meaning to their participation in combat. One of the most hard things that we deal with is leadership trauma, because in Israeli society, men are working a lot. They don't tend to be a lot of time. They don't spend a lot of time home. I'm speaking about the civil society now. And when a boy goes to a kindergarten, he doesn't meet men there. He meets women. And when he goes to school, he meets some men, but not a lot, mostly women. And the first significant engagement of a boy with a male figure which needs to take care of him and has to, Israeli army and Israeli leadership is built on fatherhood. The commanders are obliged to be to be pragmatic parents and to be emotional parents to their soldiers. Okay, the commanders go through a training which and we increase it more and more. The being emotional leader to them. The more we do it, the better it works, because and it works well. But when we have leadership trauma, when soldiers are being neglected or feel not seen by or they're moral and they're, so I'll tell you something. Yeah, I'm working in a project that is called Peace of Mind. We're taking veterans to journeys when they can speak in a group that they served with, with the guys that they served with, they can speak about their military experiences. And you see guys, who fought in the hardest fights and in the hardest missions. And when they sit for a week in a circle, what do you think they speak about? They're speaking about their relationships. Every trauma is a relational trauma. It has something to do with the relations, with their relations with parents, with their relations with their friends, or their relations with their leaders, and it's really challenging. Besides that, what helps us a lot is that there is an integration of military in the culture, in the Israeli culture. I'm saying it again, military cultural integration, okay? That military is a part of an Israeli society. And there are mechanisms that are hard to describe, but now I see that I find it easier to describe to our Ukrainian colleagues that are dealing with it now, that now the more you are fighting, the more veterans are becoming your, part of your society. And the longer the war will go, the longer they will be they will enter the society, you know, and they will be part of it. And what I want to say is, you asked me here, one of the questions is how we rehabilitate them, right? How we rehabilitate veterans. We believe that when you see what usually veterans do, what do they do that make them more resilient, and what do they do that make them less resilient? We see that they are thriving in the business field. We see that they are thriving in the agriculture. We see that they are thriving in sports. We see that they are being very good, you know, in human relationship, because their emotional intelligence goes through a boost during their army service. And if this and as much and the more society knows to embrace it and to understand it, the better it helps them to get rehabilitated. Okay. How are we for now, my friends? Is our conversation contributing something to your thinking? What do you think? Okay, so we're moving forward. Okay. There are other problems too. There's cumulative trauma in reservists. Okay, people like myself that served in more than one war and in more than one conflict, and we know that the more people go to, you know, to another route and to another route and another route, the more it affects them. And we don't have choice. We have more experienced soldiers, but more traumatized. And it is more challenging to help them and to rehabilitate them. It's really hard working with returning post-loss. You know, after units got hit, you know, got damaged, and we're working a lot with them. We started recently, actually, working with every unit that goes into combat zone. It's a must that mental health officer sits with the commander and the soldiers and talk about the mission, about the deployment, about the route they are coming to, they are going into, and after they get back from that route, we go there and we meet them and we help them resolve what they saw and what they have, because there were years when we didn't do it. Somebody, you know, got wounded, or somebody died, or a tank exploded, you know, or there was a lot of how do you say, a lot of conflict, you know, with civils, with civils, which is usually hard to see, to be, you know, to bear, and then they came. These guys came back, and nobody asked them what happened. So we have veterans. I myself, you know, I served from 2000 to 2003. I never met a mental health officer. And nobody asked me what I thought about my service and the things that I participated in during my regular service. And now I understand the meaning of talking to them and asking them. Not everybody tells their story, but at least they are being asked about what they have experienced. And we emphasize I'm not sure it's a debriefing or not. You're asking a question about debriefing. It's an important question. It's not a debriefing as you know it. It's actually, do you know the Israeli model Yahalom? Well, there is an Israeli, an IDF Yahalom technique, which can be found across the internet. And there is another technique which is called Mashabim. We're talking about resilience, and we're talking about what helped you deal with things. And we're not doing a debriefing, but we are asking them, what have you gone through, and what helped you deal with it, and what was hard for you. And like how do you say it? A traffic light. What was easy for you, what was a green light, and what was a red light, what wasn't easy for you, and what was the yellow light, what was the thing that you are not sure about it. And the most problem, where do you think we find it? Definitely in the yellow light, okay, in the twilight zone, in the area that it's not black or white, green or red. Another thing that we do is we give a lot of support for commanders of fallen soldiers. We help them deal with these things, because the commander deals with the fallen soldier worse than the soldiers themselves, because of the guilt of the commander. And we help them lead the conversations, and the remembering of the fallen soldiers. Another few points that I want to point out. We are going, military mental health officers go through two kinds of training. One is clinical training during our study in the university, and the second is military training. Military training is helping us, to adapt our clinical experience and understanding to military needs. It is definitely needed. What I saw in Ukraine a few years ago is that, the first group that I worked with in Ukraine was with priests. And they were great, really. They went to war fearlessly, and they were really good and really effective at the work that they did. But they lacked, military training, and they lacked clinical training. So it's too bad. And then I met a lot of specialists who went through military training and less clinical training. So they had a good emotional intelligence, but they didn't have a proper clinical training. And I've met some colleagues in the Ukraine that had a great clinical training, but no military training. And I think that this is an important issue, that mental health officer in Ukraine will go through military training and clinical training and combine between those together. This is something that we have in Israel, that is built well in Israel, and help us, understand the importance of supervision and emotional processing. And we know the secret about rehabilitating soldiers. You want to know the secret? I'll tell you. It's containment of trauma exposure and not trying to heal it. Okay? To contain it without trying to take it from them. To help them integrate it into their life, and draw resources from it. And not to get rid of it, and not to forget it, and not to suppress it. I see that there are a lot of questions. Well, I'm starting to understand which things are thought-provoking in what I say. So, yeah, please. Let's go to
питання від Джима англійською мовою.
Yeah, there is a
Як тепер робити?
question
Напевно, я перекладу
from
його українською,
Jim
Яна, ви прочитаєте
in
англійською
English.
для Моті.
So,
Чи ви могли б обговорити,
would
як
you
ви підтримуєте?
discuss
I
how
can
you
ask it directly
support?
if you'd like.
I mean, no, I will read to the audience in
Okay.
Ukrainian, to our listeners in Ukrainian. Чи ви могли б обговорити, як ви
Would you discuss
підтримуєте
how you
ментальне
support the
здоров'я
mental health of
ваших
your
фахівців у сфері
mental health
ментального здоров'я, той
officers
досвід, який
to the
стосується вторинної
experience of
травми?
secondary
І
trauma?
потім ще два питання українською.
This is the weakest part of our work. Yeah, it's really bad. Actually, I don't know if I'm crazy or if it's not suited for me. I draw support from my friends, from my colleagues, you know, from the combat officers that I work with, and from the mental health officers that I work with. I think that we in naturally built a group of resilience, a group of belonging between ourselves, and we party hard, yes, and we call each other every goddamn day. and we spend a lot of time with each other. And my wife tells me a lot. She says, "Listen, you are being at home, but you are being with them. Actually, you know, you're all the time on the WhatsApp, on the video conversation with my friends. I find that they understand me better than my family, although my family is very supportive. Yeah, I don't want to say bad things because it's not true. It's not true, right, about my family. But I think they understand me the best. I think that even the combat officers do not understand the secondary traumatization that we go through. And actually, I can't draw the line, you know, because sometimes if somebody tells me you're a hero, I hate it. And when somebody tells me, "Come on, what are you doing? You know, you're a military psychologist. You don't do nothing. You know, you are not, you know, running forward, you know, and attacking." And I said, and it annoys me also because I'm right there in the middle, and it's a tricky place. I still wasn't in dealing with it. I'm trying to be introspective. I'm trying to find my weaknesses and my strong spots in it, and to deal with it and to finish it, you know. But I could have been demobilized a long time ago, and only recently I understood that that me being hanging on the military service till my 44 and counting, yes, it's actually it's an expression of my secondary traumatization. It's not a good thing. I used to tell myself and other stories that it's a good thing, and I'm having a lot of fun, but that's the problem. That's exactly the problem. That I couldn't arrange. I find it hard to arrange my life outside the army.
Так, 10 хвилин у нас ще залишається, колеги.
We still have 10
Чи є,
minutes.
Юрій питає, чи є у ваших
Yuri
підрозділах
is
проблеми
asking
з
if your
алкоголем і
units have
наркотиками?
problems
Як
with
з цим
alcohol
працюєте?
and drugs. How do you work with it?
With alcohol and drugs. After there is no alcohol use in the army. It's a taboo. It doesn't happen. No alcohol in Israeli army. Quote me, okay? There isn't. There is cannabis, okay? It's hidden. It's a hidden use. I want to say sporadic use, you know, once in a time, but it's not true. The more soldiers are deployed, the more they use it. The further they are from the you know from the base, they use it more. When we before they go to vacations, we guided the commanders to tell them when you go to a vacation, there are some guidelines that we teach them, to spend less time in their room, watching TV series, and less using alcohol and cannabis, because we want their brain to be sober, to adapt to these transitions, from battlefield to civil society. It's a recommendation, but we know for sure that when they get home, they go to parties and they party hard, and they drink alcohol and they use cannabis, and it's too bad for them, but it does not affect the fighting. In Israeli army, it's a taboo. Everybody who gets caught with cannabis goes to jail, and he's expelled immediately from the combat unit. And it's people don't want to lose their status, their combat status, because combat status comes with benefits, with financial benefits. After that, they can get study for free, and they can get some money, and the money that they get as combat, they don't want to lose it. So they try not to get caught, or not to do things that they may make them get caught with using cannabis.
Ростислава питає, техніку світлофор. Ви даєте в
What
груповій
is
роботі?
the traffic light technique? Do you use this technique in the group work?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, we suggest them to bring three, like 3 or more stories from their fighting period. One of them that is understandable and I'm capable, and that I responded well, and it's resolved in my head. Okay, it might be a hard situation, but it is resolved in my head. That's a green light. And a situation that I know that is not resolved in my head is a red light. I know it was bad. I know it hurt me. I know it's I know that I will pay for it. And the yellow one is, I'm not sure. It's a not understandable situation. It's a situation that I'm not sure how I feel about it. And we find it the most mind one, the one that has more minds in it.
Так, трішки наші часу, і тут багато подяк. Дякують
We still have
слухачі,
some
що
minutes.
цінно.
Our
І
audience
перекладачкам
members
нашим
and
перекладачу на
participants
сьогодні Василь
are
Уляна
thanking
перекладають.
to us.
Я ще швиденько прочитаю
This
трішки
was very
питань із
valuable.
попередньої цієї форми
A few
реєстрації.
questions
Питаються,
from our
як
previous
ефективно
registration
допомагати
form.
військовим з
How
гострою
can we
реакцією на стрес?
efficiently help to the military, to the soldiers with acute reaction to stress?
Look, I'm inviting you to invest more in how do you say, in preventing, okay, more in prevention. When the soldier is well trained and well motivated and serves in a unit that he is suitable for, mentally, and he is mentally prepared, and he has the ideological basis of his motivation and the social basic of the motivation. He likes his unit. He trusts his commander. He's friends with his comrades, and he knows what is good for him, personally, in narcissistic needs. Then you won't see a lot of damage from the ASR or ASD, because we normalize it, okay, and we connect them to their commanders and to their friends, and this is the best resilience and this is the best resolution for them. When they are surrounded by the people that understand them and give place to their anxiety, to their ASI, you know, that are not being frightened by that. But if the unit or commander or their comrades react in a hysterical way, you know, to the ASR symptoms, then it's bad. And if they miscomprehend these symptoms, it's also bad. We want them to relate to that, to understand that, to give it validation, to give empathy, to hug him, and to bring him into doing, not to thinking and feeling, but to doing. And doing and talking is better than thinking and feeling in the battlefield. And we encourage them to talk a lot. Like I serve in the armored division, so I tell them every tank has to have an internal radio program. You know, in the radio program, everybody in his turn tells everybody about his childhood and about his annoying little sister and about his parents and about the girl that turned him down, and about the sport that he likes, and about the book that he read, you know. And it's a good prophylactics, you know. It's good prevention to having it, because the better they know each other, the more resilient they are. I want to say last things. Okay, maybe another question after that. Yeah, I want to say so what can be shared, you know, between Israel and US? Trauma is universal. Okay, what matters is the context. What matters is how we understand it. And I hope what I'm saying is if it's understood, if you feel like I could talk to your soldiers, you know, and they would like this conversation, and they would trust me, so it can work. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know what you are thinking. There are three principles that we're working about. We are integrating our mental health into the army and into the homes of the veterans and of the soldiers. Okay, we make it quick, and we emphasize the importance of the team and of the commander of the soldiers. Okay, connecting them to everything. Okay, and and outside the army, we make early care. We want to teach the families to help the soldiers to carry the burden, you know. So we work hard to strengthen the community and to be more and to build solidarity in the community. Okay, and there is a sentence that I really like. No one returns from war unchanged. Okay? This war changed me as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a citizen, but no one should return unsupported. Okay? If we build our society where everybody can feel supported, genuinely, you know, sincerely, with warmth and love and care, then it will do better to the society on the long run. And I'm struggling hard in the Israeli army to prefer the long run and not the short run, because the commanders in our army, they prefer the short run. Most of them go, you know, to completing the missions, you know, to making things done. but it's my job to see the society. You know, I don't want to lose this guy in a day for the society. I'm looking at him as a 60 or 70-year-old guy, you know, that can live with his past and what he did in his army. It's really important, as I believe, and it's hard to see. But when I talk to younger commanders and I explain to them that you are commander of a unit, not to this a year or 2 years or 3 years. You will be at their weddings and you will be at their funerals and you will take them to rehab, you know. And even if you don't do it, you might discover that they are being buried or you know, or happily married, or going, you know, or searching the streets, you know, looking for drugs, and you have to prepare them for their civil life during the army service, and they understand it. Thank you, my friends. I hope it was useful. It was of any use for you.
Thank you too, Moti. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity, yes, to be heard and to be and to put and to do my part in your fair struggle.
Yeah. People say that you were very open and sincere, and they appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Андрію, додасте трішки від себе
Andrew, any
красивих
words
слів,
from you?
якихось таких, так. Дуже вдячності багато, так.
A lot of thanks and gratitude.
Дякую, Моті.
Thank you, Moti.
Дуже тепло.
Thank you. Goodbye, colleagues.
Goodbye, Moti.
Бережіть себе, колеги. Та гарного
Take
вечора.
care.
Наскільки це можливо,
We
звісно,
wish you a
гарного
good
вечора.
evening as far as it is possible.
Дякую, до побачення.
Thank you and goodbye.